Hello and welcome to another segment of Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Jamie Johnson, the legal and government correspondent. And today we have some special guests. Our topic is not necessarily a government entity, but every once in a while I like to do kind of the private sector and charitable organizations. And we have one it's got a great foundation here in Hudson, does great work, and we're going to learn more about Operation Help today. So my guests are Mary Blanchard, and your title, is it Executive Director?
It's chair, actually.
You're chair, and
Help.
Barb Van Lunen, who is the vice president.
Right.
And Barb's been on the board a while and associated with Operation Help, along with former school board member and a lot of other community involvement. Let's start with, before we talk about your backgrounds in this, just Operation Help. Many of our viewers will probably know what it is because it has been almost 36 years or going on that anniversary anyway. So what does Operation Help do succinctly? We're going to get into a lot of details here, but go ahead.
So basically, Operation Help helps people who are struggling in the community. We provide financial assistance in the form of rent, utilities, car repairs, and voucher programs for laundry, clothing. We do referrals for clothing. We do referrals for food and a variety of other things, but we have vouchers for gas, farmers markets, food. We have on-site emergency supplies. We also have two programs, a Christmas campaign for kids, and that gets a lot of press in the area around the Christmas time. We provide Christmas presents to families who can't afford to provide Christmas presents for their kids. And we also coordinate with the schools on the Warm for Winter program, where we provide winter gear to both children and adults.
All right. So in a nutshell, Operation Help helps families that might be struggling for resources and in an almost emergency type basis, shorter term, correct?
Yes.
Short term basis. And is it receive any government funding or public tax dollars?
There's no tax dollars, no government support, Jamie. All of the funding are through donations. Much of the donations we receive are local, either through individuals, businesses, churches, or civic organizations such as Rotary. We also have a number of foundations from this area that support the work that we do. And the United Way of St. Croix Valley is a significant support mechanism for Operation Help. So.
Okay. Well, and so I was going to get your personal involvement. Mary, how long have you been associated with Operation Help, and what did you do before you came to the organization?
Okay. I've been with Operation Help around 4 years, 2 years as a volunteer, and then another 2 years in a year as vice president, and then now as president.
Okay.
So.
Very good. And Barb, how about you?
I believe it's been about 7 years, and started as a volunteer and helped open what we refer to today as the Operation Help Resource Center. Some people may remember the source, but when those two organizations merged, we started to refer to the office space that we have as the Resource Center, which is where we provide vouchers and the emergency supplies that Mary referred to.
So you kind of combined the words there, source and resource. All right. So when you merged with Source, how long ago was that?
It would have been in 2013 that the two organizations merged.
Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of evolution, but the roots of, or the seedling of Operation Help was in 1981?
It was.
And it was, the idea was started by Bob and Mary Nasvik, is that right?
That is right.
They helped spearhead it, but it was a group of concerned citizens in there. We were trying to provide a Christmas experience for children and families. And so that's why you mentioned about the presents, and it kind of grew from there because unfortunately need doesn't just come around at Christmas time. And so it's kind of amazing to watch Operation Help and how it's kind of expanded. But the two areas that you don't get into would be that you most basically do referrals for the shelter.
Correct.
Like, is there an association with Grace Place?
We do have a working relationship with Grace Place, but it's more coordination. We hit the client at different stages. So we try to prevent, by emergency assistance, we try to prevent homelessness. They're catching the client when they are actually homeless.
Okay.
So,
You're hoping to get people while they're maybe still renting or whatever their situation is, so that
Right.
they're not turned out, and avoid that kind of hardship.
Right.
What would be your percentage of families that you help that have children?
It's an excellent question, Jamie. Probably a statistic I don't know exactly, but I would say about 50% of the 50% of the clients that we see have other folks living in the household, often children under the age of 18. Yes.
Okay. So to give folks a scope, now I know it's changed over the years. Again, got to start with helping families at Christmas time to now, it's a year-round. Maybe is there a part of the year where it's less busy?
No.
no.
Pretty
Sorry
steady.
to say, it
Yeah.
is. And there are different triggers. At this time of the year, usually we see folks who have been struggling for some time, and the utility bills coming out of that winter period are higher than they would be later in the year, and so that
That's what I kind of thought. Plus, construction jobs kind of pick up in the summer. I
That's
thought maybe
right.
the spring might be a bit of a reprieve for you folks, but
Yeah, I would say no. And we don't see seasonality in the way that you might anticipate. It is busy all year round.
and why is that? I guess I'll let you get your thought in. You were going to.
Well, part of that is because I guess I'm seeing two groups of people that we service. One is there's an emergency need. They've either lost their job or there's an unplanned expense or medical expenses. And most people are like this. There's a study done. I'm going to bring in the study, the ALICE study done by the United Way.
ALICE.
CE, and it's asset limited, income constrained, but employed. So what they did is they looked across all the expenses that it took to run a family, and then they looked at the income, and they came up with a percentage of 42% on average in Wisconsin are they're either at the poverty level or they're living on the edge. One $500 bill or a $1,000 bill could put them into a situation where they might lose their house or, have an emergency issue.
Now, but St. Croix County, being, it's one of the high growth counties in the state, higher property values and higher incomes, we should be kind of free of this 42% poverty level.
So
There's a little bit of sarcasm
No,
there,
no.
so go ahead.
St. Croix County is running just about parallel with the state of Wisconsin, so we're around
Really?
42%. And part of that is there's a large percentage of people that commute into the cities and have jobs that are over, I want to say $15 an hour.
I was going to ask about that cutoff when you talk about
Yeah.
income constrained but employed. What are we talking about as for an hourly wage?
Can I jump in?
Sure.
There was another study that supports really this ALICE report that Mary is referring to. But the smart folks at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, do a study annually, and they look county by county across the U.S. on what is the wage rate that would be required to provide just basic expenses, which means housing, food, transportation, and childcare if there are children in the home. And in St. Croix County, and I believe the data reflects 2014 information, it would have required a single earning household with one child to earn about $28 an hour. That is
So that could be combined between the two.
right.
All right.
Yes. But that is a significant step up from, I think, some of the great jobs that we have, but still don't quite cover those basic expenses here.
Well, there's folks who think, well, you could do away with a lot of the expense if you didn't have the child care. Just have one parent stay at home. Usually it's sexist, and they say have the mom stay at home,
Sure,
and
of
then the
course.
husband can be the breadwinner. But that person would need a job that would pay $28 or $30 an hour, basically.
That's right. That's why we have a lot of both couples working.
Right. And generally, again, not to stereotype, but do you see people usually really highly educated, or are these mostly people who either have less than high school or GED?
You know, interestingly enough, that this study that I'm talking about, the Alice study, said that this runs across all socioeconomic, you know, the categories of people. And it's sustained. We were just talking about that the other day, where it's sustained by the studies of how many people are able to put away retirement income or an emergency fund. And that is a very low percentage. So you can see that there's a lot of people living on the edge, and they don't have the money to save, or you know, maybe there's some financial counseling that might be, we're actually doing some of that, but a lot of people are living on the edge and don't have the money to put into an emergency fund or retirement fund.
Now, let me play devil's advocate a little bit here, and there are people who think that, you know, they look at the federal government, the growth of government, and say, haven't we already turned that corner with President Johnson's war on poverty from 50 years ago, that now the government takes care of everyone adequately? Why do we need a place like Operation Help?
Right. Well, the short answer is no, that's not true. And just as a small example, there are obviously federal programs that support food in households.
There's a food stamp program.
And there's it's called
For now,
SNAP.
anyway.
Called SNAP
Yeah.
today.
Okay.
There's also the WIC program for women with infants and children in their home that provides care and counseling and food, milk, that sort of thing. But just as an example, there also is a federal program that provides some level of support for utility expenses if there are families who get in a situation where they cannot cover their utility bill, particularly important in a climate like ours in the wintertime. But federal guidelines have a ceiling of income, and without exception, if you had a family that made, no kidding, 25 cents more than that federal guideline, they would be denied support
So
from the
there's
federal
not a
government.
gradual phasing out?
No.
No, it's
So-
a yes or no.
And so it's kind of that litmus test. And so the problem is people who you know, don't want to be on these federal programs, and so they go out and they get a job, but those jobs are paying $14 or $15,
Right.
And then they're
$16
precluded.
an hour.
Correct.
So then they don't qualify for these federal programs, and yet it's kind of the working poor. It's basically
But-
the
and,
concept.
and that's how we characterize most of the clients that we see and work with. These are good, hardworking individuals who, because maybe they don't have a rich savings account that they can dip into when they face a car repair that was unexpected or a medical bill that was unexpected, those are the things that can cause them to miss a rental payment or to miss a utility payment. So.
And that's the emergency group, but there's also this group, I forgot to give you the other group, there's also this group that are on fixed incomes. That we continually see coming in for laundry vouchers and things like that. So the financial assistance that we provide is more of an emergency situation. The voucher programs, they're for both. You know.
So that's the other thing is, you mentioned the laundry. I mean, that's kind of, for a lot of households, particularly in the Hudson area, you would just take for granted washer and dryer, and you have these things, but those aren't always provided with rental units and
At least not for free.
Right.
And pay laundry is extremely expensive for families that are already struggling. So.
And it's an important thing, as laundry, being able to have clean clothes. If you're out of a job and you're looking for a job, being able to have that resource. And that's basically how it also works with the gas vouchers and other farmers market vouchers, which
Right.
I guess are good for, that's a seasonal thing, right?
Right.
It is, yes. The farmers markets obviously are seasonal. So.
But we do have a program with the Afton School that they can get fresh produce there. So we have one that runs more of the year, and then the farmers market just runs in the summer and spring and partly into the fall. But we also have a program in Afton where they can go just across the bridge and get fresh produce and baked goods, and that's more year-round.
So, do you have enough resources to help the people? I guess what I'm getting at is, why are you here today, being on TV and letting people know about Operation Help? Is because I'm assuming it's a twofold purpose. One, to get the word out that there is a source there for people that need it. And a referral source, because you have the network that you do with the other organizations. But the other is that the need is constant, and because it isn't dependent on government taxpayer dollars, it's dependent on the benevolence of individuals and organizations and foundations.
Yes, and 2 years ago we actually had to cap our financial assistance. We reached a point where we couldn't afford to offer it beyond a certain number of people a month. So that happened a couple of years ago. We've overcome that hurdle, but now we've got a situation where we're running out of gas vouchers each month. So we're still running into caps right now, and so resources are still needed.
Always.
So.
And again, it sounds like pretty basic needs, gas, laundry, emergency food. We're not talking about vouchers for cell phones and...
We are not.
No.
And
Although we refer for that.
right. One of the things that Mary and I were talking about earlier today is in our office, in our resource center, when we have folks that come in to visit us, we can provide them with a modest amount of toiletries. So a razor and some shaving cream and some shampoo and conditioner and deodorant, just basic human support items. And we do rely on the community's generosity in donating those items. That relieves pressure on our budget to not have to purchase those and make them available. But these are items that every adult needs. And it's a wonderful thing that we can make those available, but we're running very low right now.
What are you running low, particularly low on certain things?
Everything that we provide, we're low on right now.
Okay,
so
give us another list. Give us
Sure.
a list. You started with the razor.
shampoo, conditioner, feminine
Mouthwash.
mouthwash, toothpaste, toothbrushes, feminine
Toilet paper,
feminine hygiene products, shaving cream, razor blades,
paper towels.
paper towels, socks, and underwear for adults, men and women, are things that we do try and provide on a regular basis. So thank you for inviting us to share the list with you.
Yeah, well, that's important, that people know that there is a place for that. And there are some people who may not be able to write out a check, but maybe they have these items that are extra.
Absolutely.
And people that buy in bulk or whatever
Absolutely.
might be the case, that
Absolutely.
helps in your purchasing of items.
I think the other thing that I think Mary and I would like to highlight, Operation Help has done some work in the last couple of years, really largely led by Mary, to develop this list of resources that are available to folks that are struggling across the county. And while the list is not an exhaustive list, it is very, very long, and it's categorized by the particular need that they have. So in this resource list, we can refer them if they have needs around mortgage issues or
Security deposits was another one.
security deposits if they're looking to get into a place. Maybe they're in a homeless shelter right now and they're ready to transition into permanent housing, but they cannot afford the security deposit.
It usually requires 2 months' rent right up front.
Exactly.
Right. The resource list goes on and provides food resources and shelter resources and a number of things. And it is available on our website. And so
Let's talk about that website. What
yeah.
is that?
yeah. So the website
That is www.operationhelpstcroix.org. And if you go into the resources section, we have these lists available for both our clients, but we've also a number of different. I was volunteering at the Salvation Army and Operation Help when we came up with this list, and we were hitting binders to while we were on the phone talking to people. So instead, we created some shorthand lists that we are the volunteers are able to look at while they're on the phone very efficiently. And then the other thing is we put this one-page summary on our website for clients to be able to just take this and see what other help they can get in the organization or in the county. Other organizations such as Salvation Army, Our Neighbor's Place,
Schools.
churches, schools have started using this list.
So what makes you different from, let's say, Salvation Army or American Red Cross?
Well, one, we're local. Okay, there's a local office and presence.
And when you say local, we didn't distinguish for the folks or define, your boundaries of what
It's
you
really, yeah, it's really St. Croix County and the city limits of River Falls.
would. Okay.
So that's our boundaries. We have clients all over the county. We are different in that we are one of the only organizations that we are the only organization that provides rental assistance in St. Croix County. We also that I've seen, we're the only organization that has a resource list like this that enables clients to look over the county and see what other resources are available. For things as simple as food distribution, where can they go to get,
Well, right, because we mentioned Grace Place earlier, but that's for folks who have already lost their shelter.
Exactly.
And you're looking for, and Grace Place is listed on here, Our Neighbor's
is.
Place and others. Again, temporary shelters and so forth. And Turning Point would be one, again, that's a specific
Exactly.
need for domestic abuse victims. But many people don't know that what you're trying to do is prevent that homelessness
Exactly.
by helping out in tough times. And generally that's the biggest expense is either the rent or the mortgage. And I think it's very interesting. People have that stereotype that, well, this is just all for people who are renting, but there are people who have been able to be in their home and maybe they were financing it fine with 2 jobs, but one of them loses a job and then it
Very
becomes a
common.
struggle to cover that payment. And not everyone has been able to take advantage of refinancing and so forth because, again, that takes additional resources many times to do that. So you provide that kind of counseling and try to work, point them to places like Home Preservation Foundation Agency and
they also they do mortgage counseling. A lot of it is that if I think of it in cups. If I can find a little bit more money here, I might have a little bit more money for rent. If I can get a little bit more help with food. So sometimes it's just talking. When they come in, a lot of the clients, we're also a place for just to lend an ear. And sometimes, I don't know if you've been involved with coaching, sometimes if someone's just able to tell their story, sometimes they can figure it out themselves, how to get out of this. The other thing is, if you can just help them see that there's other ways, other places where they can get help, they can sometimes make it work within what the money that they have. Sometimes it's that $500. They just need $500 to get them back on track. So.
And what would you say, out of the 353 families that were helped in 2016, how many came back for more than the one-time or short-term help?
We have a maximum number of 3 times that people can come back for financial assistance, which is the rent, utility, and car repairs. But we have an ongoing relationship. Like I said, there's a lot of people on fixed incomes who come back for laundry vouchers, food vouchers to help them.
And
in
the
tough
laundry
months.
voucher, for instance, I mean, again, we're probably not talking a large amount of money, but something that makes a big difference if you're already on the edge and you're not,
Right.
if you have nothing to wash
right.
your clothes with and so forth. So what's a typical voucher for laundry?
A voucher for laundry is $5, and it's 1 voucher per person, so
All right.
up to 6.
And to go back, Jamie, on your question about how many of those clients, was that enough to be the financial bridge that we hope that we can be? We do measure and track, and we know that over the course of a year, slightly over half of the people that we support, that's the first time that they have come to us for assistance. So we really are reaching a different clientele each year.
Okay. And as we're sitting here and talking about your mission and what you do, I go straight to the scriptures and think about Jesus' story about and the disciples asking, when did we see you naked and clothe you, or hungry and feed you, and thirsty and give you drink, so forth. There's many people that don't see that happening, but they have that opportunity to do it. So do you partner with churches and so forth? I think you mentioned that before.
A lot of churches, because they now have this list, this resource list, are referring people to us. So we've actually increased each year. I think we're up 20% so far from last year.
Yes.
In numbers of, or in dollars provided. You mentioned 353 families. That's just for financial assistance. We impact over 3,500 families in a year with all of our programs, the vouchers, the Christmas program. So, and over half of those are children.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
So it's not just a matter of people showing up and just getting some money. The financial assistance is actually only a smaller percentage of the overall number of
is.
That's right.
families you help.
Yes.
right. And we have a
Because-
case manager that works those cases and contacts the landlords and connects the resources with people.
Okay. And again, we've said it twice, I'll stress it again, this is not a governmental organization. In fact, you are a 501c3
That's
Yeah,
right.
charitable.
nonprofit. Mhm.
And so people can donate 100%.
A tax
Yes.
deductible
Taxable.
donation.
And
Yes.
I'd like to say, too, we have only one employee, and that's that case manager I talked about. Over 95% of the dollars the donations that we take in goes directly to the services. And the only reason why we can do that is other than that one employee, we're a pure volunteer force. So we have over approximately 32, or around the 30s, of volunteers that do staff the office, but we have over 70 volunteers over a course of a year who operate all of these programs. So we have
That's
huge.
tremendous. Well, keeping the administrative costs down to 5%,
Yes.
that's awesome. A lot of organizations that do their fundraising over the phone, it ends up, there's only pennies on the dollar that actually end up going to help someone. And
Right.
so to be able to say that, well, how can people get involved, whether it's volunteer or donate something in kind or with money? Just take those separately.
Sure. One of the easiest ways, we always encourage people, if they're interested, to come and visit us at the Resource Center. Our hours are from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday.
And what's the address for the Resource
Excellent.
Center?
The address is 901 4th Street here in downtown Hudson in the old courthouse for folks that are familiar with that building and the function that it used to serve. We're on the second floor up in the corner, Suite 214. But again, we always encourage people to come and visit us and just kind of see what the space looks like and see how we are able to provide some of the vouchers and the referrals and the emergency supplies.
And we also have one evening hour, 5 to 6:30 on Thursday, too.
Evenings, correct. Beyond stopping in, folks are always free to call us, and I'll give you the phone number in a minute. If they really are interested in learning a little bit more about how they might get involved, they can send us an email by going to our website. There is a contact us page on the website where they can send a message that Mary or
And
I
the website
check.
again is Operation Help.
You can Google Operation Help in St. Croix County, or you can go to www.operationhelpstcroix.org.
And that's all one word, Operation
All
Help
one
St.
word.
Croix. Are there other Operation Helps?
There is something nationally, because if you just do a Google search, you'll see others, but clearly it's a unique brand in our area anyway.
So I know we have viewers from outside of St. Croix County, but still, if they know somebody who is in St. Croix County
Yes.
or the city limits of River Falls, that's somebody who could benefit.
That's right.
So that's the other reason to get the word out, is to also let people know there are
Absolutely.
resources, because it can be very frustrating. And sometimes those families end up helping the next generation, and people aren't there all the time to be able to provide, and whether you're one illness away from losing that
That's right.
support.
We've actually had people call in from other counties that we've been able to help too. And the other thing we've had is some of our volunteers will go beyond for a particular, we had someone who needed a wheelchair that wasn't able to afford a wheelchair, and they directed them to a program to get that wheelchair. So some of our volunteers will actually research to find the help, even if it's not one of our listed
In order to get the help,
services.
I don't mean to sound ludicrous, but do people have to present some type of ID, or like they do now with voting, some kind of proof of residency or anything like that?
Yes, they have to meet a couple of criteria. They have to live in St. Croix, to get financial services, they have to live in St. Croix County. We do help homeless people, though, so I want to say they might only temporarily be in St. Croix County. So They have to live in St. Croix County. They have to have lived at for financial assistance. They have to have lived at their current address for 90 days. I'm going blank. They have to
Have a form of income.
some form of income, which can include unemployment insurance or some kind of governmental assistance or child support.
Because what you're trying to avoid is you're not going to be the sole source of
Yes.
income for them.
That's right.
And really, our mission is to be a bridge in a true economic emergency. And so we say if there is no income in the household, which is really sad, we will refer them to other agencies who are better positioned to assist them in what really is a chronic circumstance. It's
Right.
not a temporary situation that we can help them move beyond.
Very good. Anything else you want to say before we conclude here? Or do you have any events coming up? Or it sounds like you're not seasonal organization. I mean, the need is there year round. But
We are not just a Christmas campaign for kids.
Right.
We are helping folks every single day. I'd say, other than perhaps the donation of supplies, we are always interested in talking to individuals who think that maybe volunteering on a regular basis with us might fill a need for them. They're looking for a way to give back to the community. Give us a call. We often will have folks come in and just do an observation to see if, in fact, that might be a match for them.
And you're inviting folks to come visit you here at 901 4th Street.
Yes.
But if they have an organization that would like to hear what you do, are you willing
They
to
can invite
go
us
speak?
out. Yes. they can
Because I know
invite us
you've
out.
come to the Ecumenical Men's Group.
We've spoken in many churches in Hudson and in New Richmond. We've spoken at civic organizations. We are open to telling our story, really. And we do that for two reasons. We want to make people aware of the services we provide, but we also encourage people to consider volunteering either time or money.
And on the website also, we have a calendar that lists any upcoming, for example, we have a benefit concert at one of the area churches in September, but there's a calendar on the website that shows what we have upcoming
Very
for
good.
benefits.
So for folks that want to help in a special way, just encourage you to go to that website because you can learn a lot more other than watching this program, but OperationHelpStCroix.org. And again, great organization. Thank you for coming on.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate that.
Thank you, Jamie.
Good to see you
Yeah,
again.
good to see you.
And thank you for all the work that you do. Very
Thank you.
important stuff. And thank you for watching another segment of Western Wisconsin Journal.